What's the timeline, Mark? Do you think? If someone's woken up today going, do you know what? This has really made me think about maybe I am too comfortable. Maybe I need to at least get on the front foot, build my skills, develop my CV, tidy up my LinkedIn, start being a little bit more intentional about my career and what I want to do next. When someone's thinking about some kind of transition, either within a company or outside to a different employer or launching their own thing, what's your sense of the timeline?
Yeah. So look, if you're listening to this today, there's two distinct tracks that you can take action now with, right? So if you're sitting this and this is resonating with you, and you're saying, "Oh, I'm definitely part of that 90% of dissatisfied workers," and you're sure that a career transition is the one for you, or you have been sitting on an idea about your own business and you think that is the opportunity that you want to go down, that we will have opportunities to, connect with me for the career transition element, and connect with Rebel and join Rebel to understand what the first steps will be to start your own. Maybe it's a side hustle, or completely kind of go out on your own. What I would say in terms of, if what outside of acting now, the timeline isn't hugely important, really. I think the accountability is the biggest thing that the biggest level of importance I would place on this. That you're accountable to the actions. So I think an aspect that we delve into a lot with our clients is that we make sure that there's a feedback loop of when they've committed to doing something, that they report back to us and say that they've done it, because things get in the way, life happens, and we want to make sure that you're serious about the path that you want to go down, and you don't lose that level of belief. But following on from that, you can set a kind of time horizon yourself, depending on the nature of the change. But if you're in a role currently today, I think the next 12, looking at like a 12-month horizon is usually a good step, and depending on the level of change that you're going to undertake.
Yeah, and I think, the thought you triggered was, I think we touched on this right at the start, but let's just hammer this point home because I think it's a really interesting one. I think I was reading through the notes from preparing for our conversations, and something that you'd written really got my attention, which is loyalty is not a career strategy, right? So imagine you're all in. I'm like, actually, I don't want to leave my employer. I absolutely love my job. I'm so loyal to this organization, but loyalty is not a career strategy. Just talk about that for a minute, Mark, because I think that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of as I said earlier, you want to be loyal. We all have this need, this desire to belong to something that's bigger than ourselves, and for a lot of us, that is our employment, right? We want to be bought in. We want to feel that it's purposeful, but you should absolutely have the same sense of importance, and ideally more, to yourself. And whatever that means for you, whatever action that takes, or whatever form that takes for you, you got to ask yourself, am I putting myself first? A lot of people will work their whole lives, or previously anyway, for one organization, and things can change at the drop of a hat. And it's just like we mentioned kind of earlier. It's about taking the ownership back. You can absolutely be loyal to your employer while keeping an eye on what you feel is in your best interest. And if anything happens, or if you want to make that change, then you can jump at it.
Yeah, nice. How important is the emergency fund in your mind?
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
building that fund up to go, if I am going to transition, let me have a bit of money in the bank just to see me through. Like, what's your sense? Like 3 to 6 months money or something like that? Start to build that up. What's your thought?
Yeah, look, I think it's increasingly difficult for people to be able to do that at the moment, and I wouldn't want that to be the blocker for progression. I think you can you can lean on that as an excuse for inaction, especially in situations where that there's a level of comfort with the salary that you're on. Um, but look, if you're in a fortunate position that you can put that money aside, it just gives you a lot more flexibility. Um, Ideally, look, you're looking at trying to make sure that you're active in this kind of um, endeavor while you're employed, but having a kind of emergency fund, a career emergency fund for periods of transition is really really important. Um, Luckily, you know, there there in some cases, employers treat employees respectfully on the exit of their employment, and they will, provide redundancy payments. And I've seen, like, to speak positively about employers. I take a, a, a tough view with employers sometimes, but to speak positively about employers, some employers do look after their people in the UK. Obviously, you're not entitled to a statutory redundancy payment below 2 years of service. I've seen that where that's been kind of waived and people are looked after, which is obviously great. And so you can use that money to help you with that transition. But if you can do it before then, you want to take the control. So to do it before then is obviously ideal.
Yeah, nice. And I think, the becomes even more important, I think, if people are looking to transition out of employment into self-employment, which is where our expertise is in, helping people launch a business. I've seen a lot of people spend money, or their own money, too much of their own money on launching a business. So if you're getting yourself a redundancy payment, don't sink it into a business. Come on the Rebel School. It's a free course. We teach you how to get started without spending any money. And as you mentioned, Mark, one of the options from watching this, folks, you can engage with Mark as a career buddy. He is on the side of the employee. He is the person that's going to help you transition from the role that you're currently in to your next role and beyond. But also, for those of you that are thinking of starting a business, Rebel School, go to the rebelschool.com/events, and there will be a free business course that you can join. There might be one in your community. There's definitely going to be one online, totally free, no upsells, none of that shenanigans, because we got a sponsorship model. And, you know, and I've actually done that. I've been that person. I've tried lots of different approaches of starting a business over the years. And, I tried it as an evening thing, a kind of side hustle to build it up to become a main hustle. I've jumped off of the career cliff and launched a business without much of a financial runway. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, although it kind of got me where I am today. And I've also gone, I've reduced my hours, after reading a book called The 4 Hour Work Week, written by Tim Ferriss years ago, which was a #1 bestseller. He's got some tips and strategies for how to have a conversation with your employer about saying, actually, can I do my 5 days work in four and work longer days, for example, or can I go down to 4 days a week and I'll prove to you how my productivity can go up. Actually, there's lots of different, interesting, creative ways to create some time. We've talked about a financial runway, but there's also a time runway in the sense that, can I free up a little bit of time so that I can either work on new skills or work on making sales for my side hustle idea. Have you got any thoughts on that, Mark? Because this has kind of been your journey as well.
Yeah. So I suppose I would be disingenuous if I was giving advice that I hadn't followed myself. And I was lucky enough to, during my most recent employment, to explore again what I wanted to do after. And I set up career buddy while I was still employed. There was a change in circumstances with my career, and hey presto, within maybe a couple of hours of getting the notification and maybe leaving the business, I was ramping up to look at my own, and that comfort blanket is just so powerful. Like if you were in a redundancy scenario, your confidence, especially if you're in a really all in type of employment, your confidence can be absolutely decimated
Yeah.
when that hammer blows. And actually, in a lot of cases, your confidence is already decimated before the redundancy comes, because the business is typically in a lot of pressure. So it can be just the final nail in the coffin. So I would say that before that happens, have your plan B. And in my case, that's how it worked out for me. It is, you're still going to have periods of self-doubt. You're going to question, if you can do it. Absolutely. And you continue to question. I don't think any of us sit back and say,
Oh,
oh yeah, now I've it all figured out.
I'm 13
Um,
years in. I question every day.
so yeah, it's I think it's the confidence that it gives you to do something else, and the opportunity to test it before you really need it. And I think that's been everything for me, and it's really rung true. So yeah, and then look, there's probably people listening as well that they may fall in between two stools, right? They mightn't be in a situation that there's maybe an urgent need. You could be working in sales and waiting for your big commission check down the line. There could be various different scenarios where you're not ready to move just yet, and that's why what we're doing here is so important, right? We're building as a third option for viewers is to join us in our Rebel and Career Buddy community. So for insights, free resources, and a little bit of a sneak peek into the knowledge of both businesses, so that you can keep informed and keep up to date, and maybe even just keep accountable to being the CEO of your own career.
Yeah, that's such a great idea to hang this stuff off of, the CEO of your own career. So like I guess like if you're going to be a CEO, the things that come through my mind are about the plan, isn't it? It's about having a plan B. And if nothing else from watching this, if you then said, actually, I do need a plan B because I haven't got one, then some of the themes that you've been talking about, around the networking stuff, I think is so important, about building that emergency fund. If you need help to do that, jump on the Rebel Finance School course, because Alan and Katie, my business partner and his wife, have been teaching thousands of people across the world on how to create a gap between what you spend and what you make. And the first step in that journey is about creating an emergency fund. And it's not necessarily just for career transition the way that they look at it, but it's so interesting how all of these dots seem to join up together. Like, okay, so my plan B meant that I was going to develop my skills, re-engage with my network, and do that in a really authentic way, build up an emergency fund, and ask myself the question, what do I actually want my life to look like? Well, they can book a conversation with you. You can come on a Rebel School course, or you can join the community which we're building, which is super exciting. And I think, like, as you say, for those people that aren't ready now, the community is ideal because you can start that process for free. Lots of content that we've got for everybody to start thinking through, what does my plan B actually look like?
Yeah, love that. And yeah, from the career buddy side, we'll have CV templates, guides, to help you with more maybe practical elements of of a career transition, LinkedIn optimization, how to apply for jobs correctly, and give yourself the best chance. And also for people who are experiencing crisis, right? So if you're in a situation and you want to get a guide on what are the steps I need to take to deal with my current employer, then that content will be readily available for you.
Great stuff. Now, just to finish this episode off, we've got more conversations to have, Mark. The thought went through my mind of the work family, right? So if the work family, is that real or not, by the way?
Yeah. So
what's your
I've always
experience of the
had,
work family?
yeah, I've been on the side where I've now I think made the mistake of welcoming people to a work family. We have to remember that when I got into corporate life in HR, I genuinely wanted to help people. So I genuinely believed I was inviting people to a family. Unfortunately, that typically isn't the case. So yeah, in our next episode, we're going to kind of delve, slightly adjacent to this conversation and discuss, a little bit more about that, and I'm sure various other topics, which will be great.
Very good. So hopefully, by watching this, you've got a sense of the comfort trap, and are you in it? And if you are in it, maybe it's time to start thinking about what a plan B might be, either because things can change, or actually because to help you to feel more inspired and more engaged in the workplace. We spend a hell of a lot of time there. Let's wake up tomorrow morning being more excited to do the role than you did yesterday. So thanks for watching, everyone.